To finish out October, I watched a classic 90s horror film, Scream. Welcome back to Nicool's Notions. If you've been following along for the month of October, we have been going over the Alfred Hitchcock movies from the book, The 501 Must-See Movies. Now, I wanted to end the month watching Rebecca, which is the 8th Alfred Hitchcock movie in the book, but I can't find a copy of it anywhere. So if anyone knows how I can watch that movie, please let me know. So, since I couldn't watch Rebecca, I watched Scream, which is a classic horror film from when I was growing up. It's from 1996. It stars Courtney Cox and David Arquette. This is actually the movie where they met. Drew Barrymore's in the movie, Neve Campbell's in the movie, Skeet Ulrich is in the movie. It has a bunch of 90s stars, and I remember it being a really cool movie, and it's an iconic movie. It's something that everyone who grew up in the 90s saw. There actually had, I think there's Scream 2, 3, and 4, and I heard they are coming out with a new Scream. So it's a franchise that has lasted, that was really, really popular, especially for my generation. Something that I noticed right away when I started watching the movie is how old the actors were. I looked it up, and they were all between the ages of 21 and 26, playing about 16, 17-year-olds. And they really don't look like 16 or 17-year-olds. There's a lot of times where movies do this. They have a little bit older actors playing high school kids. And a lot of the times, it passes fine. This time, I mean, maybe it's just my age, but it was really, really noticeable in this movie. Another thing that I noticed is that the second night, which is the first night that Sydney gets the phone call, it's 7:15, I think, and it's pitch dark. And then the next night, there's a 9 p.m. curfew, and there's a ton of stores closing, and it's still daylight out at presumably 9 o'clock or close to the curfew where everyone's closing to go home. So that's a little bit of a continuity error. Aside from those two little things, which aren't that huge, it's a fun movie. It's in the book for sure because it is so iconic and because everybody knows it. There are so many sequels. And there's a scene with the wiper blades and the blood, which is really, really cool too. So there's a lot of good things about the movie. I don't like horror movies. This is something that I think everyone knows already. I think I've mentioned it more than once on the channel. I'm not looking forward to watching all the movies in the horror section. This one I watched because I had seen it in the 90s. I was nostalgic for it. I've seen the sequels. I may watch the new one when it comes out. But generally, I'm not a huge fan of horror movies. If you do really like horror movies, then there is a reason to watch it. It is iconic. It's something that's referenced a lot. There are a lot of sequels. It's very famous from the 90s. But if you're not into horror movies, it's not something that you have to see. So, moving on, since October is over now, we're going to move on to the month of November. And November is Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday. And there are 4 Leo movies in this book. So I'm going to do a couple other movies also, but I'm going to make sure I also do all 4 of the Leo movies this November. So if you want to watch, hit subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and we will continue on in the month of November. I just went on a walk with my dog, and I was thinking to myself about how Scream wasn't that scary of a movie. But then there was a couple of other people on the street, and I got a little bit tense. I was super on edge, and I thought to myself, I guess I was wrong. It scared me a little bit more than I thought.